Welcome to a second update today, and in this update we are once again going to discuss Bitcoin and Ethereum because we can actually see some weakness when it comes to the altcoins, and also Bitcoin isn't really looking too strong because the dollar is showing strength. So we're once again going to look at what we might be getting when it comes to the markets of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but we're also going to look at a few altcoins in this update. Because some of them has been sliding south, which is kind of painful if you're an investor, but we're getting into a period where it's actually beautiful to get all those buying opportunities. And we're also getting into a period where people start to realize that the 4-year cycle might actually not be the case anymore. So we're diving into a super cycle. Before we're going to continue, do not forget to subscribe beneath, like this YouTube update, subscribe to our newsletter too, as today our second update is out completely free. From next on it won't be free anymore, but if you want to get insights into the markets, that is there for you. Also, do not forget to check out my Twitter and Instagram. I've reached 500k followers, and therefore on Instagram I've made an announcement which is going to be nice for next month. So markets have been correcting when it comes to the altcoins. At least some metaverse coins and some layer ones are still doing fine, which will be discussed in the request update tomorrow. I won't be able to shoot tomorrow morning, so I'm doing another market update right now, and I'm going to do the request tomorrow morning on Thursday in the morning update. So you will be seeing 5 altcoins that I'm going to chart and say or look at the beautiful levels that they are going to give and the scenarios that I'm looking at. When it comes to Bitcoin, it has been testing the lows multiple times, and based on the chart that we can see on the daily time frame, and I've just got a different chart, it does not look too well, right? So we've had this downwards move just like we have been seeing here. We are hovering at support, which is important. We are back at support before the actual impulse started to continue, so this is a very important level to watch. But we have been trying to break all the way back up, and we constantly are getting pushed back. And we are also seeing a 20% correction already, which might assume that we are going to correct even more. That is tricky, assuming that something starts to drop even more, because if you have the assumption that something drops even more, you might even want to start selling your position. That last part is definitely not what I'm looking at right now. Because we've just seen a 20% correction, the chances are more that we're going to bounce up from this higher time frame support, resulting in an opportunity to take profits on that bounce rather than selling into higher time frame support if you have that assumption or that way of thinking. So I can understand that you want to sell, but I think the opportunities to sell have been gone. The opportunities to buy are right now across the horizon. And that is usually what you want to do when something corrects as much as Bitcoin has been doing. So I'll just want to go towards the lower time frames. And first we have to discuss this. Structure is still higher lows, higher highs, since we have seen this heavy correction here, in which that even if we drop towards 47k, which might be an assumption or might be happening here, we are still in a bullish manner. Sounds weird, but we are still making higher lows, higher highs at that point, and then we can just continue in the super cycle that we have. I'm just erasing this as we want to look at the lower time frames, which has been testing multiple times. We have been making a similar construction in September, which was the bottoming formation for Bitcoin. So we might be making the exact same with Bitcoin here too, but it's tricky. We've had a ton of tests here after making lower highs as well. And then at the final test, we made a slight higher low, broke upwards, consolidated, and then we started to push through the resistance zones. That is one scenario. Of course, the other scenario is that we drop through it, and then we're looking at that bullish divergence structure that I've discussed earlier this morning, in which we're looking at something like this to create this higher low on the RSI, and then we might be reversing as the higher time frame support is still this area that we have here around 54k. So when we're looking at the lower time frames for Bitcoin, we can make the assumption that we are having a pretty decent support here as we are bouncing back swiftly or multiple times right now. We can also make a conclusion that we potentially have a slight higher low here. Am I going to get the trigger here at this stage? No. I'm looking at confirmation of breaking 60k, or just like we have been seeing this previous scenario, we run back up, consolidate here, make a flip of 58, and then we continue moving. That is also a trigger for me. In between the levels, so in between 54 and 60k, I'm not that much interested in getting into a position. So I'm looking at either we're going to get this bullish divergence going, or we're flipping any of those levels to get a trigger into the markets. If you are new and want to get into the markets, I think you want to DCA into the levels that we are driving here. And especially after the 20% correction, you want to start accumulating your positions because that's just a great opportunity to get into the markets. Let's first look at Litecoin, which we have been sharing our view on in the past week. Litecoin is correcting heavily since the push, and we're going to look at both the USDT and Bitcoin pair, but we're seeing a heavy corrective move here, approaching the level that I wanted to be looking at. If this zone flips for support, that is the level that I'm going to trigger myself for a potential long, as then we might be flipping the trend from bearish to bullish. And I think Litecoin is still ready to follow suit. And when we're looking at Litecoin against USDT, we are into support, but we reject previous level for resistance once again. So most likely we're going to test support also once again. But given the fact that we are acting quite weak at this point, I would not be surprised if we even test 175 before we're going to have any run for this one. Cardano against Bitcoin also showing weakness as it lost a massive support here. Very simple approach. I've been bearish on Cardano. I'm looking at the lower range to buy some more. I've been buying a little right now. If you want to follow my trading portfolio, don't forget to check out the platform. But if we get into this range, I think we have a massive opportunity. And if we flip this level back again, we got another massive opportunity. But it's a signal that Bitcoin is just consolidating. Altcoins are dropping south. That means that altcoins are getting sold off towards Bitcoin or towards USDT because people do not have enough trust in the markets at this point and move their assets towards risk-off assets or lower risk assets, which are Bitcoin and USDT. And that is why you see those Bitcoins or altcoins drop in their Bitcoin pairs, and that is not a strong momentum at this point. So that's why I'm critical on the price action of Bitcoin. And that is also why I'm remaining relatively cautious when it comes to the altcoins or trading at this stage. Cardano against USDT, I've made this analysis, still lower lows, still lower highs. I'm patiently waiting for myself to get filled into a trade at this point. And I think we're getting relatively close. Have been sharing this for a month now. So that's actually quite fine if we're going to get it. Tomorrow, 2 fresh new updates. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you again soon.